My husband called the police when I came home from my business trip. I pulled into my driveway at 11:23 on a Thursday night after 3 days in Seattle closing the Baxter account. The house was dark except for the porch light, which meant Greg had probably fallen asleep on the couch waiting for me again. I grabbed my suitcase from the trunk and walked up to the front door, fishing my keys out of my purse. The lock turned smoothly, and I stepped inside, calling out that I was home. Before I could even set down my bag, the living room exploded with light and Greg was standing there in his pajamas holding his phone, his face completely white. He looked at me, and then at his phone, and then back at me, his mouth opening and closing without sound. "Greg? Honey, what's wrong?" I dropped my suitcase and walked toward him, but he held up his hand to stop me. His whole body was shaking. "Don't come any closer. Just stay right there." His voice came out strangled, terrified. I froze in the middle of our entryway, completely confused. "Greg, it's me. It's Olivia. What's happening?" He shook his head violently and his hand tightened around his phone. No, you're not. Olivia's in Seattle. I just talked to her 20 minutes ago. She called me from her hotel room and we had a whole conversation about her day. So whoever you are, you need to tell me right now how you got into my house and why you're pretending to be my wife. The words didn't make sense. I stared at my husband of 7 years standing in our living room accusing me of being an imposter in my own home. "Greg, I am Olivia. I am your wife. I just drove back from Seattle. The meeting ended early this afternoon, so I decided to surprise you and come home tonight instead of waiting until tomorrow morning. What are you talking about? You talked to me 20 minutes ago? I was driving. I didn't call you." Greg's face had gone from white to red, his breathing coming faster. "You're lying. Stop lying to me. I know my own wife's voice. I know what she sounds like. We talked for 15 minutes about the presentation she gave today and the celebratory dinner with the client. She told me she loved me and she'd see me tomorrow. That was Olivia. So who the hell are you?" My brain was struggling to catch up with what was happening. Someone had called Greg pretending to be me. Someone who knew enough details about my trip to fool my husband. "Greg, listen to me. Check your phone. Look at the number that called you. Was it my cell phone?" He glanced down at his screen, his thumb swiping. "Yes, it came from your number. It says Olivia right here with your contact photo." I pulled out my own phone and held it up. "This is my phone. I have it right here. I've had it with me the whole drive. Check the call log. The last call I made was to you at 6 o'clock when I left Seattle. Before that was the client at 3. There's nothing from 20 minutes ago because I didn't call you." Greg looked at my phone and then at his own, confusion starting to break through the fear and anger on his face. "But I talked to her. To you. She knew everything about your trip. She knew about the Baxter account and the concerns about their budget and how you handled the presentation. She even laughed at that joke you told me yesterday about your coworker's terrible coffee breath. How would anyone else know those things?" I felt ice spreading through my chest. Someone had access to information about my life, my work, my private conversations with my husband. Someone had called Greg from what appeared to be my number and convinced him they were me. "Greg, I need you to believe me right now. I am Olivia. I am your wife. Someone is impersonating me and I don't know how or why, but we need to figure this out." He stared at me for a long moment, and I watched his certainty wavering. "Prove it. Tell me something only Olivia would know." I thought frantically. "Our first date was at that Italian restaurant on Maple Street and you spilled red wine on your shirt. Your middle name is Theodore after your grandfather, but you hate it so you never tell anyone. The scar on your left knee is from when you fell off your bike trying to impress your high school girlfriend. We got married on October 15th, 7 years ago, and our song was At Last by Etta James because it was playing when you proposed. Is that enough, or do you want me to describe the birthmark on your right hip that nobody else has ever seen?" Greg's phone fell from his hand and clattered onto the hardwood floor. His legs seemed to give out, and he sat down hard on the arm of the couch. "Oh my God. Olivia, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. You sounded exactly the same. She sounded exactly like you." He was starting to cry and I rushed over to him, wrapping my arms around him even though I was shaking just as badly. "Who was I talking to? Who called me pretending to be you?" I had no answer. We sat there in our living room holding each other, while the reality of what had happened slowly sank in. Someone had impersonated me well enough to fool my own husband. Someone who knew intimate details about my life. "We need to call the police," Greg said finally. His voice was steadier now, but I could hear the fear underneath. "Someone has access to your phone number and your personal information. This is identity theft or stalking or something. We need to report it." I nodded and pulled out my phone to dial when it started ringing in my hand. The caller ID showed my own number. My own phone was calling itself. Greg and I stared at the screen as it rang once, twice, 3 times. "Don't answer it," Greg said, but my thumb was already moving to accept the call. I needed to know who was doing this. I put it on speaker and said hello. The voice that came through was my own voice, identical down to the slight rasp I got when I was tired. "Hello, Olivia. Did you enjoy your drive home?" I couldn't speak. Hearing my own voice coming from someone else's mouth was like listening to a recording, except this was live, real time. Someone using my voice to speak words I wasn't saying. Greg grabbed the phone from my hand. "Who is this? What do you want?" The voice laughed, my laugh, the one I made when something was genuinely funny. "I want what's mine, Greg. I want the life that Olivia stole from me. But don't worry, I'm going to take it back. I've already started." The call ended. We sat in silence for 10 seconds before Greg called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later, 2 officers who took our statement with expressions that shifted from skeptical to concerned as we explained what had happened. Officer Diana Reeves was mid-40s with sharp eyes that didn't miss anything. She asked to see both our phones and examined the call logs carefully. "So, someone called you from what appears to be your wife's number while she was driving home. Then after she arrived, her phone received a call from itself that you both heard, and the person on the other end knew personal information about your wife's business trip and your private conversations." Greg nodded. "She sounded exactly like Olivia. I've been married to my wife for 7 years. I know her voice. This wasn't similar or close, it was identical. How is that even possible?" Officer Reeves exchanged a glance with her partner, a younger man named Officer Kent Lucas. Voice cloning technology has gotten very sophisticated in the past few years. With enough audio samples, someone can create a synthetic version of any voice that's nearly indistinguishable from the original. The question is how they got access to your voice and your personal information. I thought about my job in pharmaceutical sales, the presentations I'd given, the conference calls I'd been on. I do a lot of video calls for work, Zoom meetings with clients and internal presentations that get recorded. Could someone have taken audio from those? Officer Reeves nodded slowly. That's possible. If someone had access to your work systems, or even just recorded calls, they could compile enough audio to train a voice cloning model. The personal information is trickier. That suggests someone close to you or someone who's been monitoring your communications. Greg's face had gone pale again. Monitoring our communications? You mean like hacking our phones or computers? Officer Lucas spoke up. Potentially. Or someone could have physical access to devices. Has anyone been in your house recently who might have had opportunity to install surveillance equipment? We looked at each other thinking through the past few weeks. My sister stayed with us last weekend while her apartment was being fumigated. My best friend Sophie came over for dinner on Monday. Greg's brother visited 2 weeks ago. Our cleaning service was here on Wednesday. I felt sick listing all the people who could potentially be involved. Officer Reeves wrote everything down. We'll need contact information for all of them. I'm also going to recommend you contact your phone carrier about the number spoofing and get a cybersecurity expert to sweep your house and devices. Whoever is doing this has invested significant time and resources into impersonating you, which suggests this isn't random. Do you have any enemies? Anyone who might have a grudge against you? I couldn't think of anyone. My job was competitive but not cutthroat. I got along well with my coworkers and clients. My personal life was quiet. Greg and I had a solid marriage, good friends, normal family relationships. No one I can think of. I mean, I'm sure not everyone loves me, but I can't imagine anyone hating me enough to do something like this. Officer Reeves handed me her card. I want you to think carefully over the next few days about anyone who might have motive or opportunity. Sometimes it's someone you'd never suspect. In the meantime, change all your passwords, enable 2-factor authentication on everything, and document any unusual activity. If you get any more calls or contact from this person, record it if you can and contact us immediately. After the police left, Greg and I stayed up until almost 3 in the morning, going through our phones, computers, and every messaging app we used. We changed passwords, checked privacy settings, looked for anything suspicious. I found nothing obviously wrong, but the violation felt complete. Someone had been watching us, listening to us, stealing pieces of my life to use against me. Why would someone do this? Greg asked as we finally climbed into bed. What's the point of impersonating you? What do they gain? I had been asking myself the same question. The caller had said I stole something from them, that they wanted to take back what was theirs. But I had no idea what that meant. The next morning, I called my office to explain I'd be working from home while dealing with a security issue. My boss, Denise, was understanding but concerned. This sounds serious, Olivia. Do you think it's related to any of our clients or competitors? We've had issues with corporate espionage before. I hadn't considered that angle. I don't know. The police mentioned it could be someone trying to access proprietary information through me. I'm changing all my work passwords and having our home systems checked. Denise promised to alert the IT security team and told me to take whatever time I needed. I spent the morning on the phone with our phone carrier, our internet provider, and a cybersecurity firm that specialized in personal digital security. The security consultant, a woman named Rachel Park, arrived that afternoon with equipment to scan for hidden devices. She swept our entire house methodically, checking smoke detectors, outlets, light fixtures, anywhere something could be concealed. I'm not finding any physical surveillance devices, she said after 2 hours. But that doesn't mean you haven't been compromised digitally. I need to examine your computers and phones more thoroughly. She spent another 3 hours going through our devices with software I didn't understand. When she finished, her expression was grim. Your laptop has spyware installed. It's sophisticated, probably military or law enforcement grade. Someone has been accessing your camera, microphone, files, everything. I can remove it, but this is serious, Olivia. Whoever did this had either physical access to your device or tricked you into downloading something malicious. I felt like I might throw up. Someone had been watching me through my own laptop camera, reading my emails, listening to my conversations. For how long? Can you tell when it was installed? Rachel shook her head. The timestamps have been manipulated, but based on the amount of data collected, I'd estimate at least 3 to 4 months. This person has been studying you for a long time. 4 months. I thought back to what had happened in my life over the past 4 months. Normal work, normal home life. Nothing unusual except... Greg, remember when my laptop had that weird crash in August and I had to get it serviced? His eyes widened. You said the repair guy came to the house because the shop was backed up. He worked on it here for a couple hours. Rachel looked interested. Do you remember the company name? I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my emails until I found the confirmation. Tech Solutions Plus. The technician's name was Marcus Webb. Rachel typed it into her tablet. I'll pass this information to the police. They can check if this company is legitimate and track down this Marcus Webb. In the meantime, I'm removing all the malware and installing security software, but I recommend you get a new laptop entirely. This one has been compromised at a deep level. She also found traces of spyware on my phone, though less extensive. They probably got access to your phone through your laptop once they had that compromised. The good news is I can clean this. The bad news is they've had months of access to your location data, messages, calls, everything. After Rachel left, I sat at our kitchen table with my head in my hands trying to process the scope of the violation. Someone calling Marcus Webb had spent hours with my laptop, installing software that let him spy on every aspect of my life. He'd watched me work, listened to my conversations with Greg, read my private messages. He'd collected enough audio to clone my voice and enough information to convincingly pretend to be me. But why? What was the end game? Greg was pacing the kitchen, anger finally replacing the fear and confusion. We need to find this Marcus Webb. We need to figure out who he really is and why he targeted you. I nodded and opened my laptop, the one that had been compromised. Even though Rachel had cleaned it, using it felt contaminated. I searched for Tech Solutions Plus and found a basic website that looked legitimate at first glance. Business registration, service listings, contact information. But when I tried to call the number, it was disconnected. I searched deeper, looking for reviews, business records, anything. The company had been registered 6 months ago with an address that turned out to be a UPS store mailbox. No real physical location, no employee records. The website domain had been purchased anonymously. It's a shell company, I told Greg. Marcus Webb, or whoever he really is, created a fake business just to get access to my laptop. The level of premeditation made me feel sick. This wasn't opportunistic. Someone had planned this specifically to target me. My phone rang and I jumped, my heart hammering. It was Officer Reeves. Olivia, I wanted to update you on what we've found. We tracked down the Tech Solutions Plus registration, and it's definitely fraudulent. The name Marcus Webb doesn't match any licensed technicians in the state. We're treating this as a criminal identity theft and stalking case. I need you to come down to the station tomorrow to make a formal statement and look at some photos. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every noise in the house made me jump. I kept thinking about someone watching me through my laptop camera, listening to intimate conversations with my husband, stealing pieces of my identity. Around 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text message from my own number. My hands shook as I opened it. You can't hide from me, Olivia. I know everything about you. I've been living your life alongside you for months. Soon I won't need to pretend anymore. Soon I'll just be you. I showed Greg and he immediately called the police. Officer Reeves said they'd subpoena phone records to try to trace where the messages were originating, but warned it would take time and might not lead anywhere if the person was using sophisticated spoofing technology. The next morning at the police station, Officer Reeves showed me a series of photos. These are individuals who've been arrested for cybercrimes in the past 2 years in this region. Do any of them look familiar? I went through them slowly, studying each face. None matched the man who'd come to my house as Marcus Webb. What did he look like? Can you describe him? I closed my eyes trying to remember. It had been 4 months and I'd only seen him briefly. Just a technician there to fix my computer. 30s maybe, average height, dark hair, glasses. He was polite, professional. Nothing about him stood out. That was probably the point. Officer Reeves had me work with a sketch artist to create a composite. When it was done, I stared at the generic-looking man on the page and realized how forgettable he'd been. How easy it would be for someone like that to walk through life unnoticed. Over the next week, my life became a nightmare of security protocols and paranoia. I got a new phone and laptop. We installed a sophisticated security system in the house with cameras and motion sensors. I changed every password I'd ever used and enabled every privacy setting available. But none of it made me feel safe because the person doing this had proven they could get past all those barriers. They'd been inside my digital life for months without me noticing. What else had they done that I didn't know about yet? The answer came 3 days later when I got a call from my bank. There had been suspicious activity on my account. Someone had tried to transfer $50,000 to an offshore account. The transaction had been flagged and stopped, but whoever attempted it had answered all the security questions correctly. They'd had my mother's maiden name, my first pet's name, the street I grew up on, all the information I'd probably mentioned in emails or conversations that had been monitored. I drove to the bank and sat with a fraud investigator named Thomas Caldwell, who walked me through what had happened. The transfer was initiated online using your login credentials. The IP address traces to a coffee shop in Portland, but that's likely a VPN endpoint hiding the real location. What concerns me more is that this person also attempted to open 3 credit cards in your name yesterday. All were declined because we have enhanced monitoring on your account now, but they had your social security number, date of birth, everything needed for identity theft. He pushed a folder across the desk. These are all the accounts opened in your name that we've found so far. 2 credit cards from last month that went through before you flagged the issue. A cell phone account, a utility account at an address in Tacoma. Someone has been building a parallel financial identity using your information. I stared at the documents, feeling reality tilt sideways. This wasn't just about impersonating my voice or spying on me. Someone was literally stealing my entire identity, creating a duplicate version of me in the world. The address in Tacoma, do you have it? Thomas wrote it down and I recognized it immediately. It was my childhood home, the house I'd grown up in before my parents sold it 15 years ago. Whoever was doing this knew not just my present, but my past. They were reconstructing my life piece by piece. I called Officer Reeves from the bank parking lot and gave her the address. We'll send officers to check it out. Olivia, I think you need to consider that this might be someone from your past, not your present, someone who knew you before your current life. I drove home trying to think of anyone from my childhood or college years who might harbor this kind of obsession. I'd had normal relationships, normal friendships, nothing that ended badly enough to warrant this. But someone knew intimate details about my history, details I'd never shared with anyone except family. When I got home, Greg was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open and a strange expression on his face. I found something. I've been going through old emails, looking for anything unusual, and I found this. He turned the screen toward me. It was an email from 6 months ago, right before the laptop incident. Subject line, reconnecting. Dear Olivia, you probably don't remember me, but we were in the same children's choir together when we were 8 years old. I've thought about you so often over the years. I'd love to catch up. I'm in town next month and would love to meet for coffee. The sender's name was Isabel Crane. I searched my memory but came up with nothing. I don't remember anyone named Isabel from choir. Do I? Greg shook his head. That's what made me suspicious. You've told me about your childhood and you've never mentioned an Isabel. But look at your response. He scrolled down and my own words appeared on screen. Isabel, of course I remember you. I'd love to catch up. Let me know when you're in town. I stared at the email. I didn't write that. I never saw this email. I don't remember any of this conversation. Greg's face was grim. There are 6 more emails after this. You and Isabel making plans to meet, catching up about your lives, her asking questions about your work and your marriage. All answers coming from your email account with details about our life. But you're saying you didn't write any of it. I felt cold spreading through my body. My laptop was compromised. They had access to my email. They could read incoming messages and respond as me without me ever seeing them. Someone had been having entire conversations pretending to be me, maintaining relationships I didn't know existed. Did you ever meet up with Isabel? Greg scrolled to the last email, dated 4 months ago. According to this, you met her for coffee on August 12th at the cafe near your office. You even told her about needing your laptop fixed, and she recommended a technician, Marcus Webb from Tech Solutions Plus. She gave you his contact information. The trap had been elaborate and long-term. Someone calling themselves Isabel Crane had manufactured an entire friendship with me through my compromised email, built trust, then positioned themselves to recommend the technician who would deepen their access to my life. We need to give this to the police, I said, but Greg was already typing. I'm searching for Isabel Crane. I want to know if that's even a real person. He found a Facebook profile that matched the email address. A woman in her 30s with dark hair and a warm smile. Her profile said she lived in Portland and worked as a freelance graphic designer. Her photos showed her at coffee shops, hiking trails, art galleries, a normal life. But when Greg clicked through to her friends list, something became clear. She has 1,247 friends, and at least 30 of them are you, different accounts all using your name and variations of your photos. I leaned closer to the screen and felt my stomach drop. There were multiple Olivia accounts, each slightly different but all clearly based on me. Some used my real photos, others used edited versions. Some had photos I'd never seen before that must have been created or manipulated. She's not pretending to be you, Greg said slowly. She's creating multiple versions of you, building an entire network of fake Olivias. But why? What was the purpose of creating dozens of duplicate accounts? Officer Reeves arrived within an hour after we called her. She looked at the emails and the Facebook profiles with increasing concern. This is more sophisticated than typical identity theft. This person isn't trying to steal money or commit fraud. They're trying to replace you, to become you so thoroughly that the distinction doesn't matter anymore. She pulled out her tablet and showed us a case file. We found something at the Tacoma address. The apartment is rented under your name, Olivia. And when we entered, we found a shrine. Photos of you covering every wall. Articles about your career achievements. Copies of your high school yearbooks. And a journal written in first person as if the author is you, documenting your entire life from childhood to present. Except the details are wrong. It's your life, but filtered through someone else's perception of it. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Who's doing this? Did you find them? Officer Reeves shook her head. The apartment was empty when we arrived, but we found identification documents, credit cards, even a driver's license all in your name with someone else's photo. A woman in her 30s with dark hair. She pulled up a photo on her tablet and my blood went cold. It was the woman from the Isabel Crane Facebook profile. The woman who'd been emailing me, befriending me, setting up the elaborate scheme. Her real name is Monica Harper. She has a history of identity-related crimes, but nothing this extreme before. 7 years ago, she was arrested for impersonating her former college roommate, but the charges were dropped. 4 years ago, she changed her legal name 3 times in 1 year, each time taking the name of someone she'd been close to. She's escalated. Why me? My voice came out as a whisper. How does she even know who I am? Officer Reeves pulled up another photo. A group of children in choir robes standing in rows, smiling at the camera. This is from your church choir, 1997. You're in the front row, right? I nodded, seeing my 8-year-old self with pigtails and a gap-toothed grin. This girl here, Officer Reeves pointed to a child in the back row, slightly apart from the others, not smiling. That's Monica Harper. She really was in choir with you. Her parents were members of your church. According to records we've pulled, she had a difficult childhood. Father was abusive, mother was neglectful, she was in and out of foster care, and apparently she fixated on you during that time, saw you as having the perfect life she wanted. I stared at the photo of the sad-looking girl and felt a wave of recognition. I remember her. Not her name, but I remember there was a girl in choir who was always alone. The other kids avoided her because she was strange. She'd stare at people without blinking, and she'd repeat things people said word for word. I felt bad for her, but I was 8, I didn't know how to help. Officer Reeves nodded. Developmental records show she had significant social and attachment issues. She was eventually removed from her parents' care and placed in long-term foster care out of state. But she never forgot about you. She's been following your life for 30 years. Social media made it easy for her to track you. And when you became successful, married, seemingly happy, her obsession intensified. She didn't just want to be you. She wanted to erase you and take your place. The full horror of it settled over me. For months, Monica had been studying me, learning my patterns, capturing my voice, stealing my identity. She'd infiltrated my digital life, my financial life, my social life. She'd been preparing to step into my life so completely that no one would notice the difference. What happens now? Greg asked. How do we stop her? Officer Reeves stood up. We have warrants out for her arrest on multiple counts of identity theft, fraud, cyberstalking, and computer crimes. But she's been careful. She's using VPNs and burner phones. The Tacoma apartment was abandoned days ago. She knows we're onto her now, which makes her more dangerous. People with this level of obsession don't stop until they're caught or until they get what they want. That night, I lay awake thinking about Monica Harper, the lonely girl from choir who'd spent 30 years fantasizing about having my life. Part of me felt pity for her damaged childhood and twisted psychology, but a larger part felt violated and terrified. She'd stolen months of my privacy, created a network of fake versions of me, attempted to take over my finances and identity, and she was still out there, still watching somehow, still planning. My phone buzzed with a text from my own number. I saw the police at my apartment. That was careless of me, leaving those things where they could be found. But it doesn't matter. I've already become you in all the ways that count. Your voice, your mannerisms, your knowledge. Soon the transition will be complete. You'll disappear, and I'll step into your place. No one will know the difference. I'll be a better you than you ever were. I showed Greg and he immediately called Officer Reeves, but she said there was nothing they could do without more evidence of Monica's location. She's taunting you because she knows we can't trace these messages. They're being bounced through multiple servers internationally. But she's also getting reckless, which means she's close to making a move. I'm going to have a patrol car stationed outside your house, and I want you to be extremely careful about where you go and who you interact with. If Monica is planning to physically replace you, she'll need to either incapacitate you or convince people you've left of your own accord. The words hung in the air with chilling implication. Monica wasn't just stealing my identity digitally. She was planning something physical, something that would remove me from my own life. 2 days later, my sister called me in tears. Olivia, what's going on? Why did you call me last night and say those horrible things? My chest tightened. I didn't call you last night. I haven't talked to you in 3 days. My sister Rachel sounded confused and hurt. Yes, you did. You called from your number around 11 and told me you were tired of being the responsible one, tired of mom and dad always comparing us, tired of having to pretend to care about my problems. You said you were done with our family and I shouldn't contact you anymore. Then you hung up. I've been crying all night. I felt rage building. Monica had called my sister using my cloned voice, said things designed to destroy our relationship. Rachel, that wasn't me. Someone is impersonating me. It's a long story, but none of what she said came from me. I love you, and I would never say those things. But the damage was done. Rachel wanted to believe me, but I could hear doubt in her voice. Monica had been convincing enough that even my own sister wasn't completely sure. Over the next week, more calls happened. Monica contacted my best friend Sophie and told her I'd been having an affair and was leaving Greg. She called my boss and said I was quitting effective immediately. She contacted Greg's parents and said we were getting divorced. Each call was designed to isolate me, to damage my relationships, to make people doubt me when I tried to explain what was happening. It was systematic destruction of my social connections, laying groundwork for my disappearance. The police were stretched thin, trying to track her. Officer Reeves kept me updated but admitted they were struggling. Monica is sophisticated and has clearly been planning this for a long time. She's covered her tracks well. We're working with the FBI since this crosses state lines and involves computer crimes. But these investigations take time. Time I didn't have. Monica was escalating, becoming bolder. She'd started posting on social media as me, using accounts I didn't control. She'd applied for a passport in my name. She'd contacted my doctor's office to request my complete medical records. She was building her version of me to be more complete than I was myself. Then Greg got a call from my number while I was sitting right next to him. Monica's voice, my voice, sounding scared and desperate. Greg, please help me. I'm being held somewhere. I don't know where. Someone took me. You need to send money to this account or they'll hurt me. Please, I'm so scared. Greg looked at me sitting beside him, real and present, while my cloned voice begged for help through his phone. You're not Olivia, he said firmly. I know you're not because my wife is right here. Monica's voice changed, became cold. Are you sure about that, Greg? How do you really know? Maybe the woman sitting next to you is the imposter. Maybe I'm the real Olivia and she's the one who's been pretending. How can you tell the difference anymore? The call ended and Greg pulled me close, both of us shaking. Monica was trying to create doubt, to make him question which version of me was real. It was gaslighting on a massive scale. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Monica's words. How can you tell the difference? What made me authentically me and not just a collection of behaviors and knowledge that someone else could replicate? If she'd stolen my voice, my mannerisms, my memories, my relationships, what was left that was uniquely mine? I got up around 3 a.m. and went to my laptop, the new secure one. I opened my email and found a message from myself. Subject line, look behind you. I spun around and Monica Harper was standing in my bedroom doorway. She looked exactly like her photos, dark hair, 30-ish, wearing clothes similar to what I'd wear. She even held herself the way I did, one hip slightly out, arms crossed. But her eyes were wrong, too intense, too focused. Hello, Olivia. I've waited so long for this moment. My voice came out as a scream and Greg bolted upright in bed. Monica didn't move, didn't react to my fear. Don't bother calling the police, they're 10 minutes away minimum. We have time to talk. Greg was fumbling for his phone, but Monica held up a device. Cell jammer. Nothing electronic works in this room right now. It's just the 3 of us. What do you want? My voice shook, but I kept it steady as I could. Monica smiled. My smile. The one I made when I was genuinely pleased about something. I want you to understand. I've spent 30 years watching you live the life I should have had. You had loving parents, a stable home, opportunities. I had nothing. No one. But I studied you, learned you, became you. And now I'm better at being you than you are. I know things about you that you've forgotten. I've internalized your patterns so deeply they've become mine. I am Olivia now. You're just the original draft. She took a step closer and I saw she was holding something. A syringe. This is sedative. Enough to keep you unconscious for about 12 hours. Long enough for me to take your place completely. Your husband will wake up with who he thinks is you. I'll go to your job, talk to your friends, live in your house. And you'll disappear. No one will look for you because as far as they know, you never left. Greg lunged at her, but Monica was faster. She jabbed the syringe toward him and he dodged, crashing into the nightstand. The lamp fell and shattered, plunging the room into darkness except for the moonlight through the window. I ran for the door, but Monica caught my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. You don't get to run from me. I've been running toward you for 30 years. We struggled, her trying to inject me with the sedative, me fighting to get free. Greg recovered and grabbed Monica from behind, pulling her off me. The syringe fell and I kicked it under the bed. Monica screamed, an incoherent sound of rage and frustration, and turned on Greg with fingernails extended. She clawed at his face, drawing blood, fighting with desperate strength. I grabbed my bedside lamp and swung it at Monica's head. It connected with a sickening thud and she dropped, unconscious. Greg and I stood there panting, staring at her crumpled form. I could hear sirens in the distance. Someone must have heard the screams and called police. Officer Reeves arrived with backup and found us still standing over Monica, neither of us quite believing it was over. They arrested her on multiple charges and found in her car outside a complete set of documents to assume my identity, including a fake death certificate for me dated for tomorrow. She'd been planning to kill me and file it as suicide, stepping seamlessly into my life with no one questioning it. Monica was charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, identity theft, stalking, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. The trial took 8 months but ended with her convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. The judge called it one of the most disturbing cases of identity obsession he'd ever seen. During sentencing, Monica looked directly at me and said in my voice, "I gave you the chance to share your life with me. Instead, you stole my chance at having one at all." Her delusion remained complete even in the face of consequences. 2 years later, I still check over my shoulder constantly. I monitor my credit religiously. I changed my voice slightly, retraining my speech pattern so recordings of me sound different now. Greg and I moved to a new house in a different city where no one knows our history. I left pharmaceutical sales and work from home doing consulting. My sister and I rebuilt our relationship, though it took time. Some scars from Monica's interference remain, but I survived. The woman who tried to erase me and take my place is in prison where she belongs, and I'm reclaiming the life she tried to steal, living it more intentionally because I know now how fragile identity really is, how much of who we are exists only in the recognition of others, and how someone disturbed enough can nearly make us disappear, just by believing hard enough they deserve our existence more than we do. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.